Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today we are talking about the books that I read in the second half of April. If you haven't watched my mid-month wrap-up for April, I'll go ahead and leave that in a card for you, as well as link down below. So go check that out if you haven't. You can hear all about the 4 books that I read for the first half of April. But today we are here to talk about the 6 books that I read in the second half of April. And I do want to mention that for whatever reason, and I don't know what it is, I had a really hard time with my rating system the second half of the month. Not for every single book, but for the later books that I read, I am just hugely on the fence with these. I don't know. They might change. I might tell you a number and that might change, and that is okay. Sometimes I just need to sit with the book and let it ruminate a little bit before I can really give it what I feel I should give it. Does that make sense? Are you like that? I don't know. But anyway, I just thought, let me just throw that out there for whatever reason. Let's get into this, okay? The first book that I'm going to talk about is Bound by Love by Cora Riley. This is the 6th book in the Born in Blood. I don't know why I have such a hard time with this. It is the 6th book in the Born in Blood Mafia series by Cora Riley. We are back with Luca and Arya from the first book. This is obviously a mafia romance, and it is a dual POV, which I really appreciated because we didn't get a dual POV in the first one. It was solely Arya's POV, but there is a book out with Luca's point of view. It is solely in Luca's point of view. It's basically the first book written his point of view. I haven't read that one yet, although I do want to read it at some point because I think that it dives a little bit more into the relationship with him and his father. Him and Mateo's father is not a nice man, and I think that that kind of shows you like how his character came about. But nonetheless, we are back with Luca and Arya. So when we start this book, we are basically jumping off right from the first book with them. It's about 2 months after their marriage, after the incidents that have happened in book 1, and we span many years with them throughout this book. What I did find interesting was that in key moments from each of the previous 4 books, we get to see those moments again through their point of view. It's not like annoying that they're in there, it's just you're getting a different side of it. So in that sense, like, yes, you are getting new information. It's not just, let me tell you all of what's happened in these 5 books, all in this book. You are getting new information. You're getting to see their relationship develop a little bit more. You get to see more of how Arya's grown up and her character development throughout this as well, which I really did enjoy. But she does irritate me. I was like, damn girl, you're born into this world. There is no way that you're going to get out of it. You've accepted that. You love your husband, but yet you are damn determined to see how far you can push yourself and your husband before somebody's going to have to snap and you're going to get seriously hurt. She betrays him. That is not a spoiler. It is on the back of the book. But I'm just like, how many times are you going to do this before you realize, like, your husband is on your side and he's going to do as much as he can, but you also are very sheltered in this life. I mean, you are very much in a golden cage. You can't just be stepping out. Plus, these mafia men are way smarter than you think, dude. They know some shit. So, like, stop with the antics. I get that family is family, but, like, I honestly feel Luca would have done everything that he possibly could for Arya, and to see her take a man whose trust that she gained, who does not trust anybody, whose love that she gained, who does not really love anybody. He loves his brother. That's it. And then kind of turn on that a little bit, even though she loves him. I'm just like, dude. So that was, like, whatever. I will say that the steamy scenes, better than the first one. You get a little bit more info. I also feel like throughout this series, those have progressively gotten better as well. Was this my favorite book of the series so far? No, it wasn't. But I enjoyed being back with these 2 characters, and I like how she weaved everything in, and you got to see multiple years with them, because we really only got to see them essentially in the first book. It's like, what, 2 months, 2 or 3 months. So there, I think this did Arya a little bit of justice too, because you do get to see her grow up. I do feel, I don't know, I haven't done research. I'm sure some people out there will know this, but I'm wondering if like this book was supposed to be. I'm wondering if like maybe this was a thought process of maybe it being the last of the series because of the summarization. Because there are two more books after this. One goes back to the second couple, Dante and Valentina, and I have a feeling it's going to be very similar to this setup where we're seeing same scenarios happen back to back, but in a bigger time frame. And then the last book is an anthology, and you get to revisit every single couple, which I will read because I do feel like this book definitely, so I'm assuming probably the next book as well, are definite setups for the next series, which is the Kimura Chronicles. We see a little bit more of Fabiano in here, which is the girl's sister. So I see that as being a setup for that. There is definite of this in there. I think it's just going to be the same thing with Dante and Valentina, just we're getting a setup of that from their point of view. I definitely think that these books have gotten better each one. I am hesitant to say, but in my prediction, I feel like the Kimura Chronicles is going to be that much better. I feel like that whole series is just going to be like one hell of a ride. So I'm really excited to finish the next two books in this series so that I can get to that. But I did enjoy this. I really did. It was fun seeing the same characters. I did enjoy it. I think it was a necessary book to read in the series. But it just, it wasn't my favorite. I ended up giving this one a 3.5, and I gave it a 2 stars for spice. The next book we're going to talk about is a new release. It is a very new release. It just came out on April 6th, so this month. I'm really impressed with myself that I read a new release. Actually, I read 2 new releases for this month. I knew that this one was a new release. The other one I didn't know was a new release until I was actually already reading it, but regardless, we are talking about The Summer We Fell by Elizabeth O'Rourke. It was between this one and the Julie Ann book. This one just spoke to me. I will definitely be reading Julie Ann's new book as well, but this one spoke to me. It might be just like this fabulous man on the cover. I don't know. However, this is a second chance romance. This is a little bit of a taboo. It's a boyfriend's best friend. It is angsty. There is a bit of a slow burn. You got a little bit of a heartbreak in there. It follows Juliet and Luke, and it is all told in the point of view of Juliet. This is told in past and present tense. We start out in the present and go back and forth from there. First off, I just have to say I so enjoy Elizabeth O'Rourke's writing. I really enjoyed Waking Olivia. I read it last year sometime, I believe, and it really took me by surprise. Like, I didn't think that I was going to like it that much, even though I was familiar with her writing and kind of knew what I was getting into. This book just did something. It was quite emotional. So let's just get into it. So Juliet, this poor girl has just a really shitty home life. It is not on page, but there is some sexual abuse involved, and that is part of her past that we learn about, but also like the one person that should be protecting her, her family, her mother is just not a top-notch mom at all. So after a certain incident, her boyfriend Danny, his parents take her in. His dad is actually the pastor of the small town in California that they live in. So Juliet gets out of this really bad situation, and she's in a safe place. She has a home. She has a safe place to lay her head, but she doesn't feel that way because she feels very much like she owes Danny and his family for taking her in, and they don't do much to stop that thought process either. She'll come home from working a double at the small diner that she works at in town and essentially wait on Danny and his family. She will literally be sitting at a table and trying to eat, and somebody needs something, and guess who has to go get it? So, not that she thinks that she deserves this, but she's not known anything, and this is a safe place, so they're not telling me that I'm wrong, so this must be the path that I'm supposed to be on. Danny goes off to college, and he bonds very quickly with his roommate. They become best friends. They bond over their love of surfing. However, Luke, his roommate, he takes that love of surfing up a notch. This is like his career path. Like, this is what he wants to do. Surfing is his passion. It's like what he loves. He has no place to go for the summer, so Danny and his family invite Luke to come stay with them. And immediately from the way that Luke is with her, Juliet takes this as he absolutely hates me. Like, I don't know what I did, but he hates me. The thing is that the poor girl doesn't realize that it's not hate. Luke immediately sees almost like this kindred spirit. He immediately sees Juliet for exactly who she is. He sees her, whereas he also can see that Danny and his parents do not see Juliet at all. They are very much suffocating the person that Juliet is, wants to be, could be, and just stifling her in this small town, not really caring very much what she has to say. Now, is she screaming at the top of her lungs, this is what I want? No. But you're also not giving this girl a chance. This also is a very much he fell first. She does start to realize over the next couple summers that there is a connection between them. Their connection definitely grows. What I loved about her is she's been through all of this stuff. She doesn't see herself as the person that Luke sees. When it comes to somebody like Luke, whom she forms a bond with and she starts to really care for, she does so much for him behind the scenes. She secretly pays his family money for extra food for him because he just eats so much and she doesn't want him to go hungry. She does a lot of things on the sly that it's so endearing. The thing with this, guys, is I definitely recommend this book. It was absolutely beautiful. The relationship that these two have, just the progression that you see, knowing in the present tense that something has happened in the past and we just don't know what it is. We know that something bad has happened. We don't know how. We don't know why it's happened. We have to get there. So there's that suspense aspect as well, but it's also how these two became who they were. They weren't trying to hurt anybody. They fell in love. Incidents happen and Danny is very like flippant about it. He kind of like brushes it off. He is very much in his own head. He doesn't push her to do other things. He doesn't share in that. It's all very much me and what I want. Whereas Luke, he is the one that protects her. He's the one that is doing what Danny should be doing as a boyfriend. So their bond definitely grows. Yes, it is a love story, but I also feel like it is a love story between Juliet and herself. Listen, it's a really good book. I really definitely enjoyed it. This is one that I definitely would read again. However, I didn't give it a 5 stars. I ended up giving this one a 4.5 stars, and I gave it a 1 star for spice, because there was just a little bit more that I wanted in certain areas that I can't really talk about because I don't want to spoil things. But there were just like a couple questions that I had and a couple things that like I would have just tweaked a little bit, but it was phenomenal nonetheless. I highly recommend this one, guys. It was really good. Keeping with the mafia theme, the next book that I read is Broken Whispers by Neva Altaj. This is another mafia romance. We've got arranged marriage. It is very much a toucher and you die. Very much an alpha male. We have also a single dad, which I wasn't expecting, but I was pleasantly surprised with. This is the second book in the Perfectly Imperfect series, and it follows Mikhail and Bianca. Bianca is a retired ballerina, and is also our mute heroine, which like just adds something for me, honestly. She was in an accident when she was about 11 years old, and it severed her vocal cords, so she doesn't speak. She actually can speak, but it comes out in a whisper, but it is also extremely painful for her. Mikhail, on the other hand, is the enforcer, information extractor, if you get my drift, of the Russian Bratva. Roman, who we meet in the first book, is the head of this Bratva. Mikhail also was in an absolutely horrific accident when he was a teenager that left him extremely scarred all over his body. He even has an eye patch. So he is very much our unlovable and damaged hero. Very much reminiscent of Beauty and the Beast. It also reminded me, not that it is it, of Stolen Air from Sophie Lark, which is the second book in the Brutal Birthright series, and also like one of my favorites of that series. It wasn't that, it just gave me those vibes, which I absolutely loved, but it was also a little bit more amped up. What I will say about this is, even though it was the second book, the mafia aspect, the violence was definitely taken to another level with this one as opposed to the first one. The first one, that wasn't really prevalent. There was part of the mafia world in it, but it wasn't the forefront. It was very much Roman and Nina. This one very much centers around these two, but I think because Mikhail has the job that he has, you see a bit more of the mafia aspect of it, which I really enjoyed that as well. Like I was happy about that. Mikhail has been a little obsessed with Bianca for about 6 or 7 months. He actually has been secretly watching her perform in the ballet before she retired and leaving her a single yellow rose every night. She doesn't know who's leaving it for her. He doesn't say anything. But when her father, who is the capo of the Italian mob, decides in like a nefarious kind of way to merge the two sides for his gain, he decides to give up his daughter for marriage. Now, Mikhail is like, ain't nobody gonna have my woman. I will figure some shit out, but nobody's gonna have her. She's mine. And by figure things out, I mean, Mikhail does not like to be touched by anyone. The only person that he will allow to touch him is his cute as shit little girl, Lena. So this could cause some problems in the marriage, but he's just like, no. I cannot allow somebody else to have her. She is mine. However, Bianca surprises him. I think Bianca surprises everybody. She's not this little meek ballerina. She is very strong, which I commend Neva Altaj for, because y'all know I love me a strong heroine, but these strong-willed women that she writes, both Nina and now Bianca, they're strong. They have their own views, they have their own set of morals, but they also have that tenderness as well. It's just, she definitely creates these characters that are complex, that know when to bend, know when to be soft when they need to, and hard when they need to as well. I absolutely loved it. The thing I will say about this is it is very insta-lovey. I think these books, honestly, like the series, it almost has to be. They're tiny. There's some short books, y'all. I mean, they're not long at all. So, I mean, they kind of have to be because of how short they are. But it wasn't that sick and still lovey. There was still, like, I'm not going to say that it was angsty, because how can it be? But there was glimpses of that. There was as much as there could be in a smaller book like this, and as much slow burn as there could be. Like, there was like tension that's there. So I mean, I guess that's like kind of where that angst comes in, but it's not I mean, it's not like angsty. It's not like what we would consider angsty, I think. But the two of them together, though, just navigating not only like the new marriage, but she has an impediment. He is very damaged, not just on the outside, but also inside as well. It was a great one, and I cannot wait to continue the series. I ended up giving this one a 4 stars and a 3 stars for spice. Next, I actually listened to The Summer Proposal by Vi Keelan. First off, I need to say that at this point, I don't understand why that I'm so surprised by a book when I read it that is by Vi Keelan. I've read quite a few books by her, and they always have this interesting twist. They always hit a little bit deeper than I guess what I am assuming it's going to. These tend to be like my little palette cleansers, or just something not fluffy, but along those lines. And they always surprise me. This one did as well. This is another dual POV. It follows Georgia and Max. Max is a famous hockey player, and Georgia owns her own business. Now, Max is on his way to one of his hockey games. When he's passing a bar, he looks in and he sees this gorgeous woman, and what draws him to her is her smile, and he immediately thinks, I have to meet her. So he goes in. Now, unbeknownst to him, she is actually there to meet a blind date. So when he approaches her, Georgia thinks, well, this must be my blind date. And he goes with it for a minute, knowing that I'm going to tell her who I really am. I just want to meet her. He doesn't get a chance. Her blind date comes in and kind of foils that plan, but he is very upfront with her and says just that. I wanted to meet you, and I wasn't sure when you called me whoever this blind date was. I think his name was Adam. I was almost positive that you would have brushed me off. You wouldn't have talked to me if you would have known. It was only going to last a few minutes. I just wanted to get to know you. Really charming off the bat. I mean, I was just like, okay, damn. yes, extreme chemistry right from the bat. You could tell that there's something there between them. But one of the big kickers here is that Georgia's actually engaged. That's right. She actually has a fiance, or at some point in the book, it changes from something else, whatever. Anyway, the whole point is yes, she's dating, she has a fiance. So her fiance is actually in London at the moment. He decided on a whim, after he got butthurt over a book that he wrote and it wasn't doing that great, that he needed to self-reflect and take a sabbatical and go teach in London for a year, and drop this all on George's lap like days before he was set to go. But said, I know, Georgia, that I put a ring on it, but I would like us to see other people while I'm gone, which to me just says, yo, I want to fuck other women while I'm gone, and I don't want to feel guilty for it. Now, I'm not going to lie. I had really big issue with this. What self-assured, successful, beautiful woman would allow that? Okay, my husband comes at me when we are engaged and says this spiel, and I'm going to laugh in his face and say, dude, bye. Bye. You go overseas and have your sabbatical, and you mess with another woman, no, we're done. There is no coming back to this. You put a ring on, what do you, no. So that was, really far-fetched for me. I didn't understand that. That was a problem for me. Nonetheless, let's get back to Max and Georgia. She's very hesitant to continue this thing that they have going on, or to see where it could go, because of the connection that they have. If you're so worried about that, what are you doing with a fiance? What are you doing with that man if you have more chemistry, seemingly more chemistry with this man than you ever did with your fiance? What you doing, girl? What you doing? But of course, Max proposes that, hey, guess what? I really only have for the summer. I am being traded to another hockey team in California, so I really only have the summer. So I'm proposing this summer arrangement that we have. Let's just date and have a lot of fun. Let's do things together. I just want to have fun. So that's what they decide to do. And of course, we know that emotions are going to obviously get into play. But there is also another little twist in there as well, which I'm not going to talk about because that could spoil it. I really enjoyed this one. This is around the time that I started to have problems with my ratings. I ultimately ended up giving this one a 4 stars and a 2 stars for spice. Will that change? Maybe. But right now, we're sticking with 4. On to the next. Next, I read The Truth About Heartbreak by B. Celeste. This is another dual POV. It's a friends to lovers. It's a brother's best friend. This is not a spoiler. There is cheating in there. The author talks about that, so again, not a spoiler. This follows River and Everett. This is another one of those expanses of time. I think it's a decade or something that we followed them, because when we meet them, River is 13, and I believe Everett is around 17, maybe just turned 17. Now, River has just been adopted into the James family, and Oliver, or Ollie, is her new adopted brother, and I really enjoyed their dynamic. He is super welcoming to her and almost immediately has this brotherly protectiveness with her, which I really thought was endearing, because it's like he saw her without really knowing what she needed. He just knew certain things that his parents had said, but he was, I think maybe because they were so close in age as opposed to the parents, he was able to kind of make her feel welcomed a little bit, because she is very much a bit damaged. River has only ever known foster homes and group homes. Her mother gave her up immediately when she was born. She's 13 now, so this is all she's known. Every time that she has had a safer place to live or gotten comfortable, it's changed. So she doesn't really want to grow roots, if you will. But the Jameses are amazing, and Everett, being Oliver's best friend, is basically like family as well. He does not have the same upbringing as she does, but he does understand struggles and losing as well. He lost his parents at a young age, and it's just now him and his grandfather that he takes care of. So they do kind of form a bond as well. So this is their journey. I definitely appreciated a dual POV, because with River, she's dealing with having a family for the first time, and that includes having a brother, being able to make friends that she knows she can keep. Like, she's not going anywhere. And also her relationship and the progression with Everett as well. My problem with this, and again, like most books, if there wasn't a problem, like, why would it even be a book? But there is a specific thing with Everett that makes him who he is, and I think it is a very admirable quality to have, but in the long run, it's also unrealistic is not the word that I'm looking for. I had it earlier, but I can't think of it. It's hard to predict what's going to happen in the future. It's hard to predict our feelings in the future. So again, to have these qualities is super admirable, but at some point and in some instances, it's doing more harm than good to everybody involved. I know I'm being super cryptic, but I can't spoil the book for you. And that just, it bothered me because it's like, you can still be the person that you want to be and still have these qualities, but work it to what works for you. Maybe not, why make all parties miserable when they don't have to be? Like, why live your life and be miserable when you could live your life the way that you want and be happy? And I just feel like it took it one step too far. Y'all, angsty. Like, angsty AF. It's one of the more angstier books that I've read. It still is not as angsty as A Love Letter to Whiskey. I don't think anything's going to top that right now for me, but it was still super angsty because of all this drama. This one was hard for me to rate as well. Right now, I'm giving it a 4 stars. I gave it a 1 star for spice. We're going to go with that right now. Another thing that I want to mention is I did not realize that there are 2 more books in this series. Really, there's one, and then the third one, I believe, is like a novella. The next one deals with 2 people from this book. And I'm going to say, when I found out who that book is about, my jaw dropped. Because I remember thinking when I was reading the epilogue of this book, that's a little weird. Like, why? Now I know. I definitely want to read that at some point. I did not want to pick it up immediately. I will read it, but I kind of wanted to take a break from it. If you know all about this, then you know. I know that this is really cryptic. We're just going to move on to the next book, okay? And my final book that I read for this month is Wrong for You by Harlow Ray. This is my other new release that I was telling you about. This one came out March 29th of this year. So again, I didn't realize that it was a new release until I was a little bit into it. 2 new releases in 1 month. That is really good. Good job. Let's talk about this. So another dual POV. It is a second chance romance. It is a small town romance. And guess what? It is another single dad. I think in the midst of coming off of my daddy video that I did, for some reason, dads must be drawn to me in the bookish world, because here is the second book of this month that is a single dad or a daddy book, and I did not go into this knowing. I think that they're just seeking me out, y'all. I really do. I am not here to complain about that. In this one, we follow Harper and Jake. Now, Jake is my type of man. He's tatted up. He's hot. He is definitely hot. Now, Jake and Harper actually dated when she was 18. I think he was like 21 at the time, for about 4 months. But then he broke it off with her because he found out he was about to be a daddy, and he wanted to be the stand-up guy and do what was right for not only his unborn child, but for the child's mother as well. And they ended. Now, cut to present day, I believe it's about like 7 years later. Jake has taken over his father's body shop, and Harper owns or co-owns a dance studio with her best friend. Like I said, they live in a small town, but Jake is super surly. He seemingly does not want to have anything to do with Harper. He gives her shit every time that he sees her. And it being a small town, of course you're going to see each other, but also his daughter, who again is another extremely cute kid, takes dance lessons from Harper's studio. So he sees or runs into her or is around her at least twice a week. But now he's super pissed off because now she's taken a weekend job at the bar that he frequents, and that's like his place. And he was like, no, I need to have time to myself. I don't know, whatever. He's like the super big asshole to her, but you can also tell that like it's a facade. Like, he's just clearly pining for her. A+ on the dirty talk. Mr. Jake Evans likes to please his woman. There is no third act breakup. Can we just take a moment for that? Thank you, Harlow Ray. Love that for you. Loved that for me. My problem with this is that you're in a small town. You know, you broke it off with the love of your life so that you could be and do the stand-up thing. But it's not like y'all went anywhere. Like, she went off to college, but it was always her goal and dream to come back. Like, that is what it is. We're 7 years later from this. She's been back for quite some time. It's not like it's a surprise. It's not like she just moved to town. It's not like you don't ever see her. So the Surly act, it is what it is. But that whole act was dropped in the span of a conversation. It went from like Big Bear, no, to you're my woman and let's go. And I had whiplash. I was reading and I got whiplash and I was like, wait a minute. I get that you've been pining. I get all this, but like, how? You know, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was good. 2 thumbs up. Again, I don't know what I'm going to rate this one. Just like the last 3, I gave it a 4. I gave it a 3 stars for spice. This one might change. I don't know. We'll see. There was a few things, but I read it in one sitting. I enjoyed it. And I feel like if I can read it in one sitting and I want to know what's happening, like, doesn't it at least deserve a 4? So, I don't know. We're going to go with that. And that's that. Those are the, what was that? The 6 books that I've read in the later part of the month. So let's go ahead and do this wrap up. I ended up reading 10 books for the month. My top reads for the month are, of course, Redeeming 6, Broken Whispers, The Summer We Fell, The Truth About Heartbreak, and Wrong for You. My most surprising read was The Summer Proposal because, again, I forget just how much I enjoy reading by Keelan. And my biggest letdown for the month is gonna have to be the book that I read for the buddy read this month. It is Right Man, Right Time. Not because I hated it. I just had some major problems with the female character. And my main problem was she was annoying. Like, really annoying. So sound off down below. Let me know what your favorites were for April, what you plan on reading for May. Just give me something down there. Alright, I am done. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already so we can do more reading wrap-ups. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.